let's review this game. So this is Queen's Gambit, and we play e6, Queen's Gambit decline, knight c3, knight f6, it's good, so far so good. c6, I like this move to support center, and white play bishop to f4. I would say the most common move, yeah, we have three options basically, e3, g3, or bishop g5. So the purpose of e3 is clear. Just develop c4 and develop light square bishop from this diagonal. And g3 is probably moving the bishop to g2. It's also something white consider, or bishop g5 to pin the f6 knight. And I think the problem with bishop f4 is, so if black take the pawn, for example, and white play e3, this is usually white will play, or e4 to like advance the pawn, and then we can take the c4. So black can play b5 to attack the c4 pawn. And if we play a4, if we want to challenge the b5 pawn, black can play either b4 or bishop b4, threatening e4 pawn. Even though white play e3, we can still play b5, and after a4, so we can play bishop to b4, pinning the knight. If white take our pawn, we can take that with a c pawn, and later bishop b7, so we can develop light square bishop. And black can be very active at the queen side. If you take my knight, and I can take that. If you take my a7, that's fine, and we can play knight d5. I mean, it's just the trading the a pawns, and you control the a file, that's fine, but I can be more active at the center. If you play queen to c2 to protect the knight, I can play bishop to a5, threatening b3 and b4, b3, or c3. So black is going to have a pass pawn at the queen side. So yeah, so the point is white should choose either pin the f6 knight or develop the light square bishop as soon as possible. But in this game, black didn't take the pawn. Black played a regular move, knight to d7 and e3. Yeah, so now white realized the problem. Play e3, bishop e7, knight e5. I'm thinking we can change with the exchange with the knight, because this e5 knight is a very great sitting at the center. And I think the problem with rook e8 is it doesn't do anything because the e file is blocked. Even though we move the bishop to f8, we cannot move the rook around at e file because of the e5 knight. So that is my point. With like, it's better to trade the knight first. We should trade the knight and get back e5, and later we move the rook. So for example, take possibly knight d7, bishop f6, rook e8, and e5. That's better. g4, white is going to attack our king side. The signal is very clear, and I think we can open up the center because, yeah, the white king is the center. We exchange with the knight, pawn chain, d7, queen c2, target out h7, we play h6. What about knight f8? I think knight f8 is better than h6, because if we put h6, white can create a pawn break very soon in one move. And once there's a pawn break, the g file will be open. It's a danger for our king. So knight f8, I think that's better, or even g6. g6 bishop, we can make it bishop to g7 and attack the e5. So h6, bishop to g3, we move the knight to attack the pawn. White castling, yeah, we cannot take the pawn. The castling is a really good move. a5. I think white is quicker than us to open up the, white is going to, we can see that just in one move, white can play f5 or g5, all of the moves are pawn breaking, so white can open up the files, but instead of, I mean, when we look at the queen side, I cannot see upcoming chances we can open up files with pawn exchange. We cannot take this pawn because there's discover attack. So we will be slow. Queen e2, g5. Yeah, so because of h6, white can open up the g file very easily. So even though we won a pawn, but you know, winning a pawn sometimes is a problem if your opponent is still attacking on the way. Because a pawn from your opponent could be a good obstacle for your opponent. But since we remove this pawn, our opponent can attack the g file without any obstacle. 94, that's a good move because white has involved as many pieces as possible to the king side. We take the bishop. Yeah, the g file. This is a big problem. And I think white is winning. Look at the bishop and the rooks. And knight f6. I don't think we have a chance to defend the g file. Sacrifice, f7, really good. And opened up this diagonal. Queen g6. Yeah, this is so smooth. Rook h5, that's awesome. Yeah, we lost this game. I think the learning for today, for this game is especially when the bishop and the queen target at h7, we should be careful or cautious of moving pawns in front of a king. Especially the signal is very clear that the opponent is going to push the pawn to g4. So what I was referring to is here. So the g4 is very clear. White is going to attack our king side, and one queen c2. Yeah, so we need to be mindful and careful of moving the pawn. So h6, and white is going to open up the g file very soon. So yeah, knight f8 or g6. I like knight f8 better because we don't push any pawns, which makes our opponent harder to create pawn break. That's it.